working. And all I can hear right now is the washing machine. Good day, good evening, good afternoon, good year, good morning, good to the last drop. Welcome to another episode of the podcast known as Blending the Family. This is episode 173. I am your host, Tommy Maloney. How are you doing? Are you doing well? Are you staying sane? Or even if you're insane in the membrane, I hope all is well in your world. If this is your first time listening to the podcast Blending the Family, well, thank you for coming by. For those of you that are regular listeners, again, thank you. What is Blending the Family? Well, on these podcast episodes, we've talked about what is a good wine on a first date. We've talked about how to successfully co-parent and men's mental health and things like that. That's what Blending the Family, the podcast, is not all about. There are some times, we talked wine. I did that for a couple of reasons, because the gentleman that came on the podcast for that episode, Bruce, brought a bottle of wine, and we had some wine while we recorded that episode. Yes, it was at night. Okay, it wasn't like at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I try to provide good, fun content to you, and I hope you enjoy it, and I think you are. I do. I really believe you are. Wow, so many things to talk about. Super excited. The day I'm recording this is hopefully the last day I have my desk set up. I have one of our, it's a bar desk. It's a round table. Not like the Knights of the Round Table. This is smaller than the Knights of the Round Table. But hopefully tomorrow I am getting the new desk. All the other pieces came. My wife Ann has already put it's going to be one of those powered raised standing desks. So I'm so excited about it. I am so pumped to get a real standing desk. And the table I have now, I love. It's very colorful. If you've seen it on Instagram at Blending Family, you will see or have seen the desk. But the new desktop hopefully will be here tomorrow, and I will be able to not only stand, but I can also occasionally sit down, because I'm old and occasionally the knees don't feel good. I want to talk real briefly. Let me go to my Instagram account because I had the thing up. So here's something really cool. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, which Spotify bought Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Now, Amazon Music has podcasts. So, for example, if you say to Alexa, play the podcast Blending the Family with Tommy Maloney.
Playing Blending the Family with Tommy Maloney from Amazon Music. Playing the latest episode 172, World Suicide Prevention Day.
That's known as Blending the Family. I am your host, Tommy Maloney. Alexa, off please. How cool is that? How cool is that? Now you can get the podcast off your speaker, your Echo Dot. I want to be careful what I say, because I don't want to say something and then something starts playing out of the Echo Dot. Anyway, super excited about that, and I'm hoping that just generate more listeners. Also, want to make an announcement. It's not official yet, but my third and upcoming book, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m., we're looking at releasing it by the end of this year. Okay, so stay tuned for that. There will be a landing page where you can pre-order the book. So I just have a lot of great news. Speaking of books, I am almost done with this one. I have to reach down and get it because I brought it down here into the office. Oop. Oop. Dropping papers. Oop. Hold on, my headphones got caught. Anyway, I am almost done with a book called Robin. So it's about Robin Williams' life by Dave Itzikoff. This book, when it first came out, this is sad, as I'm talking about putting out a new book. This book here in the United States cost $30. $30. Okay, I went to I went to Barnes and Noble a few months ago, and there it was. There was the book. I bought it for $8. Little nervous about putting out a new book when you see a great book by a great writer, Dave Itzikoff. I mean, he's a great writer, and this book has been, the journey of Robin Williams, and I love Robin Williams. He was one of my heroes, one of my mentors. I got into the world of corporate training because of Dead Poets Society. Robin Williams' character, his passion of helping those students out and navigating high school life. I love that movie. I cry every time I watch that movie. But so two things right there. I'm getting ready to put out a new book, and then reading this book, and now it's in the dollar basement. But anyway, highly recommend the book, Robin by Dave Itzikoff. Great book. Has pictures in it too. And I miss him. He was, even if you didn't like a lot of the movies, and as I'm reading, going, oh my gosh, I don't remember that movie. I mean, I remember, majority of them, but I'm like, what? Anyway, it's just a great insight to who Robin Williams was, his family, his stand-up career, his movie career. So I wanted to put that out there. I'm loving the book. And it's going to be sad because I'm almost done with this book, and I'm trying to go, well, I really shouldn't buy any more books right now because I think I have a book that's sitting that needs to be... I actually have a few books that I bought a couple years ago probably, and I haven't touched. So maybe I need to revisit some of those books. Anyway. All right, let's get to who's on the podcast. Excuse me, I am bending down to get my notes, and my headphones got stuck again. Mike Thompson is the guest on this podcast, and I've known Mike approximately like 10 years. Mike and I met at a men's conference where he and I were both on a panel by one of our past guests, Brett Zachman, a.k.a. Zach. And Mike and I just hit it off. We stayed in contact. Mike was living here in Colorado. Now he is somewhere on the East Coast. But I've been on Mike's the Father Show that he has twice. Right after Mike and I met was the first time. So like I said, almost 10 years ago. And then most recently, I was on his show. So who is Mike Thompson? Like I said, he is the host of The Father Show, a half-hour talk show focusing on, but not limited to, men's issues. He is the CEO founder of The Father Show Resource Program, launched in November of 2004, which provides resources to help men be better fathers and men overall. He is an outstanding speaker, which I will attest to. He covers motivational, inspirational topics on fatherhood, leadership, parenting, and more. He conducts a K through 12 grade school program called the Choice Program, where he mentors, motivates, and inspires young men to make better choices. That was when my son Connor was going through grade school. That was their motto: make good choices, make better choices. So I was Really happy Mike talks about that. He has written articles. Man, he's done a lot, and this is something I didn't know. He's an actor, a model, a singer. I didn't know he was an actor, model, and a singer. Public speaker, mentor, activist, a father, and a grandfather. Whew. He does have a wide range of things that he loves to do: music, golf, jet skiing. I was going to say, I don't know if you can do a lot of jet skiing in Colorado, but yeah, you can. There are places. Snowmobiling, art, cooking, and one of my favorite things that he and I are going to one day come back and talk about, and that is wine. Just a little side note, my wife and I spent a little, not too much, spent about $50 on some bottles of wine that haven't opened yet, so I'm super excited about that. But I digress. So Mike Thompson, he is just he is a fatherhood advocate, and that's why I'm so excited to share our talk with you today on this podcast. So there you go, Mike Thompson, episode 173. If you need to get a hold of me, you can go to the website blendingthefamily.com, which get ready, there's going to be changes to a brand new website. On the Instagram and Twitter, it's Blending Family. On Facebook, Blending the Family. Oh, did I say Facebook? I did say Facebook. Blending the Family on Facebook, and also on YouTube, Blending the Family. So there you go, as our dear friend, the man, one day, I've IM'd him or DM'd him on Instagram, Terry Crews. One day, Terry Crews is going to be on this podcast, and I know he will enjoy coming on this podcast. So if anybody knows Terry Crews, please send him my way. All right, as Terry Crews would say, your success is my success. Please enjoy this podcast, share it with others, and you have a blessed, great day. So far, so good. My wife and I have, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we have a new puppy.
Yeah.
And so we have been very diligent about getting up early and taking him for walks/runs. And so we didn't do it yesterday morning. We did it last night. And then we got up early this morning and did it again.
Bless your heart. I can't do it.
I keep telling myself I can't, but it's either that or Otis sits there and just nips at me the rest of the day. So I'm going to sacrifice some sleep so I'm not getting sacrificed him biting me and taking blood out of me.
Yeah. I understand it. But it's like, no. Like I told you, my wife been wanting us to have one, but it's like, no, baby. So far I'm winning on that battle.
But for how much longer?
I don't know. I'm just hoping I can continue until she can get it out of her system. But she's, she likes dogs. She likes pets, but she's not a real big pet owner. So it's not really a hard thing to do. But I know she would still want one. But like I told her, no, that's not in our cards right now.
Nah, no.
Corvette is kind of messing it up. My argument was good because we could get out and travel, but with Corvette, it's kind of making it harder.
Well, you're exactly right, because that's how we end up getting our puppy, because I haven't been traveling for the dreaded day job. And so my wife and daughter said, you're home, you can train him. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. We can get this world back open again, then you know I can win that battle a little bit easier.
Question for you, Mike,
Yes, sir.
as we've started recording. Um, you're an actor.
Mm-hmm. On occasion.
All right, tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, the acting was really years ago. My daughter from a previous marriage, she was a model. And when I got divorced, I was like, I think I want to sing on the background on the commercials. So I called the agency that she was with, and it was one of the top agencies in Denver. And since they knew me from bringing her to her auditions and also her shoots, I went there and I said, hey, I want to sing on commercials. And they said, well, Mike, I want to put you in front of the camera. I said, no, 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 no. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I want to be behind the camera. And he said, well, I think I can make you more money in front of the camera. Well, I guess we're going in front of the
The
camera.
camera, exactly. Sold.
So that's how that happened. I started doing commercials, and my first job was a movie, and I'm not sure, I can't remember it, but it was at the old spaghetti factory there in Denver. And we shot that movie, and I don't even ask me the name. I have no idea. But since then, I've been doing commercials, and I've done some in most of them. I was shooting Denver, but they would never be shown in Denver. The last one that I did 4 years ago in Denver was shown in Denver. So, but it's fun. I do it really for the enjoyment of it, and you get paid some extra dollars while you're at it.
Yeah, I've actually my dad had a little bit of the acting bug, and I actually saw him in Chicago in a play, very small
Mm-hmm.
play, but I was like sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, that's my dad. This is awesome."
Yeah, yeah. I told my sons, now that since I've been here in New Orleans, I kind of worked my way into doing just background uh, shots on movies and what have you. And when I told my son I was in one of the episodes of The Purge, he was like, "What? Oh man, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it." And I'm like, "Yeah." So, yeah, they get a kick out of that.
Is it I mean, is it like a little bit more money than getting a cup of coffee?
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit, especially here in New Orleans. Is you don't get paid a lot for background, work, and I'm not trying to. I try to work on the commercials, and when I first got here, but it's a very hard business to get into here in New Orleans. The first agency I signed up with really they didn't even come through. They just wanted to take money. They didn't want to pay any money.
Ooh.
So I left them, and I just so happened to run into a guy that him and his wife scouts out different movie sets here in New Orleans. And him and I got to talking, and he said, "Oh, Mike, call these people, let them know I told you to give me a call, and they'll get you, started." So I did that, and I do background stuff here and there, and get into movies and shows or things of that nature. And it's like I said, I do it for fun. Yes, I get a couple of extra bucks while I'm doing it, and that's it. It's just really, and I pick and choose what I want to do when I want to do it, and if I want to do it.
So, next question, how I'm always amazed where people find their purpose. And you having your YouTube show, The Father Show, that I've known about for a long time, been a guest on twice.
Mm.
And where did all of your wanting to serve fathers and men, what was your why moment or aha moment? We have an hour.
My aha moment really came sitting on the throne. And I was reading a magazine, and this article that I read, um, it came up and it says resources for women. And just really, just so subtle and quietly, God said, that's what I want you to do for men. And I'm like, what? Say what? First of all, who's that? Who's talking to me? So it really came from that. And I'm like, I don't know much about men. I didn't really hang around men other than the men that were in the band I might have been playing in. And, some of my friends I grew up with, but that's it. I wasn't one to go hang out with the fellas all the time. That just wasn't, me. Um, so I said, okay, well, let me do this. And so I started it and, requested some of my board members. Really, my first board members were all from the male chorus in the church choir that I sing with. And even the guy that designed the first website was also in the male chorus as well. So they helped me, get it launched, and they helped get it out there. And it was really, if I have to back up a little bit, it was the things that I went through when I got my first divorce and all the anger that I had. And, they say that God is going to use it for his good. And you might not understand why you're going through it, but sooner or later, there's going to be an answer. And once I got into this, and really when I started the Father Show podcast and radio show, that's when it really would, that was the aha, like, okay, I got it. I got it, Lord.
What year are we talking, Mike?
Well, let's see. The Father Show Resource Program started in 2004, if I remember correctly, and the Father Show actually started in Denver as a radio show back in, oh God, I can't remember, maybe 2007, something like that, 7 or 8.
Yeah,
So,
because I think it was 2009 I came on your program.
mhm. Yeah, the first time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, so I think it was about around 2008 that I was asked to have it as a radio show, and started out there uh, in Castle Rock in Denver, out in Colorado, and moved from there. Went to another station, and then I started videoing it, and so it was a video radio show. So yeah, it's been fun. It's really been fun to talk with people like you and get to know people like you, and it's been fun. It's kind of my way of, I guess, giving back to men and trying to help men.
What is what do you think the purposes of your show is, really? If you really boiled it down to one thing.
Is to educate men, motivate them, and inspire them to be the best men that they can be. It's
Elaborate.
really, yeah. Well, what we try to cover is give you some knowledge. So we want you to know what to, like, say we were going to talk about, I just had a guest on the show and we were talking about the steps you can take when you're going through the divorce and how you can, come out more successful when you're going through this divorce. And what it's doing is giving you the knowledge of things you can do to help yourself when you're going to go into court. Because generally, men walk into the courtroom and we automatically think we're going to be we're going to come out on the short end of the stick.
Right.
And this gentleman was telling me how you can kind of reverse that or even out the playing field a little bit, so that when you go in, you don't just go in for one thing. You don't go in by yourself. You know, us as men, we like to put everything on our own shoulders. We don't reach out for help. We don't, you know, tell anybody what we're going through. He suggested that we take somebody, an uncle, a best friend, somebody to court with us, and don't sit there and talk about on your way to court or when you get to court. You know, you don't talk about, you know, what's going to happen, what might happen, and this and that and the other. No, talk about something like, you know, what the Mets did yesterday, or what your any favorite team that you have, or something outside of the divorce that can get your mind off of it and keep you calm. Because we go in there, we are tense, we are thinking the world is against us, and we need to go in there with a little more peace and be more comfortable in the courtroom, so that you can handle yourself in a way that's going to let the judge know that you're not the knucklehead that the ex-wife is maybe trying to paint you as.
That's great advice right there. As you're talking, I was trying to recollect when my wife and I had to go to court when my former spouse and I were in court because she was trying to move out of state with our child. And it's tough. It's tough because it's it's like you said, Mike. You're going in there, you're already tense. It's a very emotional time, and trying to be distracted is probably key. When you're going into either divorce or family court, because probably the calmer you are, the less agitated hopefully you're going to be when you start hearing things, and that you
Mm-hmm.
stay focused during the process.
Right. You don't jump up and react to it and get all mad and get worse. And I know I've been there, and that was I'm like you. That was one of the great takeaways that I took. Hopefully, I never go through it again. But it was like, man, I wish I had known that when I was going through it, because I did. I went through it by myself. And, even though my mother knew, but none of my friends were there to support me, help me, talk me through it, keep me calm. I didn't have any of that. It was just me, and I'm ready to, fight with the judge and her attorney and everybody. I just want to kick some butt. But yes, that's not going to get you what you want in the courtroom.
No, and you can't go in there with a hot head. You need to be as best as you can cordial and calm
Mm-hmm.
while the proceedings are going on. It's like you said, you can't be jumping up and saying I object when you have your lawyer right next to you going, I think I got this. Yeah.
Yeah, or poking at him or her and said, "Will you say something?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it is, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get men to understand that there is a better way, and knowledge, as they say, is power. And when you have that knowledge, that you can conduct yourself in a better way, you can handle your business in a better way. We talk about relationships. So if you're going to get into a relationship and you're not really looking at all the red flags, because men, we're visuals. So if we're just looking at the outer side of the woman and saying, "Oh man, she's so fine," or "She's gorgeous, I love this," but you see that she's really not the type of woman that you really want to be with, because she wants to go out and party a lot, or she has a temper of her own, or she's always asking you where you going, who you being with. or something that's going to agitate you, and it's really not something that you want, but you go ahead and get into it. And I really want men to start looking at what they're doing before they do it. You know, don't get into a relationship just because you're lonely. Don't get into it just because, let's be real, you're horny. You don't want to get into it uh, just so that, you got parents and grandparents saying, yeah, you got to marry this woman and you need to give me some grandbabies and all that. No, make sure that you know exactly what you're looking for and know what your limits are so that when you get a red flag, you can say, nope, that's not the one for me. And I I've had an old saying that love is not enough to make a marriage work.
Oh
And
no,
it, and it
you
isn't.
it isn't. I mean, one of the things I recollect when going through my divorce is I remember hearing the great Zig Ziglar talk about if you're down, set a time limit and don't
Mm.
really rush into things. And so
Hmm.
I somewhat wish I heeded that advice because I should have, in my view, I took about 6 months of being in this funk. And it goes back to something you were saying too, Mike, about doing things alone. As
Hmm.
men, we think we can fix everything, and that we don't need anybody's help. We don't need another man's help. We don't need to say to another man, "Hey, Mike, I'm hurting. Going through this divorce has really put me in a major depression." We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
We just want to be in our own little bubble, our own little cubicle. But it's one of those things where, and I think it's finally starting to happen, is that more men are recognizing that asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength.
Yeah.
And somebody like
Yeah.
you who's been doing this for about 16 years, have have you seen, in your opinion, more men asking for help?
Yeah. I have seen it. The way men have changed is amazing. I mean, they not questioning their masculinity as much as when our fathers and our grandfathers, but we are going off of what we learn. Our fathers and our grandfathers and our great grandfathers, that stuff was handed down. This is what a man is. You don't cry. You don't whine about what you have or don't have. You just get up and pull your bootstraps up and you're going out there and do what you have to do. But the men of today, you see more men saying, hey, you know what? I need some help. I need to learn about this. Or I don't mind staying home and watching the kids. Men are even more involved. Now, we still have a problem with fatherless homes, but you have a lot of men saying, you know what? I want to be a part of my kids' life. I want to be more active. They don't just concentrate on their career. They come home and they spend time with their kids. So you're seeing the change, and it's slow, but it's a nice view right now to see men looking at things and saying, I'm not going to worry about work as much as I need to spend a little time with my daughter, my son, or my kids, period. And I, reaching out for help, you see that a little more, but it's still got a long way to go. There's still that question of a man masculinity uh, that will stop them from really asking for help. But it's showing signs of turning around a little bit.
Yeah, and coming to mind, I mean, just on Instagram, there are so many now. There's so many great fathers organizations. I mean, three that come to my mind are uh, City Dads Group, which is morphed into New York City Dads Group, that was created by a gentleman named Matt Schneider. And then
Mm-hmm.
because of Matt Schneider, there's James Lopez's group called hashtag Fatherhood is Lit. And then there's the Dad 2.0 conventions that I just read that they're they're shooting for October of this year. And I think I didn't read everything, and I apologize to Dad 2.0, but I think they're doing it virtually. But it is so nice to see that there's more and more men out there, more dads out there showing that we're as dads, we're here together. We're here to help each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes back to your aha moment. And I remember being on LinkedIn, years ago when a mom chimed in, and I was responding to one of the LinkedIn groups I was a part of, and she's asking, there's just not enough moms groups, not enough mom support group. And I was livid, Mike. I was livid. And I responded back, please give me a list of all the dad support groups. Ready, go. And and that's what we
Yeah,
need. We need
yeah,
that. And again, it goes back to your aha moment with God saying to you, Mike, you know what, Mike, you need to help more dads out there.
yeah. And I didn't know that the experiences that I had gone through was going to play a part in that. I really didn't. And it is nice to see so many dads group out there. I find some all the time, and we're trying to get them even on our resource page so that other men can find them as well. Not that mine is the only one you look at, but we want to make sure that whatever you're looking for, you can find it, because like you said, there are so many women's group out there that is unbelievable, but for men there's very little help, and a lot of people don't believe that a man needs help or should even ask for help, and that piece is still there. It's sad, but it's still there.
Well, something you were mentioning about, marriage, and it really is a team effort. And where I'm going with this is that, I'm very lucky that my wife Ann, if I'm in a down period, so to speak, whenever I heard somebody talk about their depression, and they called it the fog rolling in, and I loved it, so I borrowed it. And so, if my
Mm-hmm.
wife sees that the fog has rolled in, she's really good at recognizing it. But to
Yeah,
reverse engineer it, again, there's not enough, men that are just going to say again, "Hey, Mike, I'm not feeling myself. Can we go talk?"
yeah. Yeah, it's because that's something that you would do with a very good friend or very close friend. And that's, I don't have those. I had a good friend of mine who actually used to play for the Broncos, and he's my son's godfather. That was my buddy that I went to. Him and I, that's how we became friends, is because we were both fighting for our daughters at the same time. He was trying to get custody of his, and I was trying to get the custody of mine, and he had started before I did, and I was blessed enough to get mine before him,
Hmm.
but he still got his daughter as well. But him and I could sit down and just talk for hours, and I had him that I could unload on, and he had me that he could unload on, and we can bounce ideas off of each other, and that was great. Man, that was so fantastic. It's just unbelievable to have that kind of friendship that you can really bounce it off. Now, my wife is kind of like Ann. You know, she see me in a funk. If I get in a bad mood, she's like, all right, what happened? What's wrong? What happened? And I'm not one of those people that likes to talk about it. You know, I have to let it marinate in my head and figure out a solution. And then I might talk about it. But I have to, digest it first. And, just what was that? The other day, she came home. She said, well, I'll just talk to you. You was fine. I said, yeah, well, I had some things that happened and it just ticked me right off. And she said, well, what? And I was like, I don't really want to talk. No, what? All right, baby. And I spit it out. I gave her a synopsis of it and she understood. And she said, okay, let's have a shot of tequila. Well, all right. Well, that'll work.
My kind of woman. You married very well, Mike.
Oh, man, I tell you, I'm so blessed. It's not even funny. I'm trying to keep up with you because I met Ann and I know she's a great lady. And I know Connor likes her. And I knew that from the time that I met her, that he really liked her as well already. So you've been blessed. I'm just trying to keep up with you.
I'm trying to keep up with all of your online presence. So I know it's not the same thing, but yeah, you're right, Mike. I am very blessed that not only do I have a great partner, a great teammate, but that within our family that we don't have ugliness as a blended family. We don't have a lot of the kids arguing with Ann and I, or arguing with each other. Matter of fact, I somewhat regret saying this, but I'll say it anyway. This past weekend we had our daughter Becca's high school graduation party. And yes, we did our best to social distance, Mike. I will say that. However, it was a little bit difficult. But the point is this, that I begged Connor to come up, and luckily he's old enough. He has his own car and to drive and all that.
Oh boy!
And yeah, we're old now, Mike. So don't forget that. But he did it. He came up with his best friend, Jake. The two of them came up, and it was nice. It was nice for him to support his sister. And that's the thing, too, Mike, is that I don't want to say – I mean, I know Ann's a genius. I know I'm far from it. But as an overall family, I think we did something right, and here's why. Saturday, Becca was asking – she needed some help, and all she kept saying is, where's my brother? Where's my brother? I need help. And it was beautiful. It was just so beautiful that, coming up on 8 years of this marriage, that the labels have dropped. She just says, my brother, and Connor even say, my sister. And then before we went to the party, she called him to say, what time are you guys going to be there? Do you have, I don't know if you've seen these, Mike, these oversized Bluetooth speakers that take up like half your trunk. But
really?
Yeah, these things are huge. The
kids, those are ones that I've seen in Sam's.
Probably. I mean, they're huge.
Yeah, they are huge.
They're on wheels. Anyway, so Connor's buddy Jake has one, and they keep it in Connor's car. And so he was bringing that speaker over to Becca's party. And after, she says to him, and she means it sincerely, and this is how she always ends her conversations, is, I love you. And he responds back, I love you too. I mean, I'm sure he's just saying it to say it, but at least he's saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would probably dare to guess that he probably means it.
He probably does, deep down, like near his big toe.
But he might not admit it, but yeah.
Oh, exactly. Because he's a boy, a man.
Right.
Man child.
Yeah, I know, and I agree with you. I had a phone call today from my uh, daughter-in-law, and this is my daughter-in-law that's married, actually to my wife's son. But well, I'm like you. I call them all my kids,
Yeah.
and to hear her say, "Mike, I miss you so much," and
Aw.
yeah, and to hear her say that I love you so much, and I'm so glad you here. And she called. She said I needed to call just to hear your voice, and I'm like, "Excuse me, really?" And she said, I just needed to hear your voice and I needed to talk to you. And I'm like, man, you talking about my chest stuck out in my head. I couldn't even fit my head through double doors. I'm like, wow. But it was really nice to have that. And and that's what I want to show men that is possible, and women as well, because when you come together as a family, it is a family, and you got to have the right partner. And life can be so much better when you have the right partner. Because I hear men that say, I don't even want to go home. No, see me, I rush home. I can't wait to get home. And I want every man in this world to feel the same way. You should want to rush home to your wife and your family, and just because that's what's going to give you the most joy. You go to work, yeah, we go to work and we deal with what we got to do. And as we know, most people don't even like the jobs that they have. So to be able to come home and have that love and that support, and that's what you can't beat that. You really can't.
Well, you bring up a great point because um, I think it was a joke, but Zig Ziglar had this little story of he was on a plane once and he looked over and he says to the guy next to him, "Hey, you're wearing your wedding ring on the wrong finger." He goes, "Yeah, I married the wrong woman." And so I, when you're talking about, majority of us don't like the dreaded day job we have, and I'm guilty of that. And before coronavirus, I was on the road, only home on the weekends, and
Hmm.
that was something for our marriage was had to get used to. You
Hmm.
know, being grounded since the middle of March, April, May, and at one point my wife finally figured out, "You're really not leaving again, are you?" And I'm like, "No." And so our marriage really had to go through some bumps in the road
Hmm.
because she was not used to me being here.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I recently just had a little bit of my own aha moment was, again, not being able to get out of my own way, so to speak, and that is to reach out to other men and say, I'm struggling. I'm struggling at home. And my wife has a really good friend where probably at least once a week, Mike, the two of them are, spending time together and
Hmm.
they have a great friendship. I'm I'm not necessarily, it's not the evil type jealous. It's the jealous that I wish I had that too. I wish I had
Yeah.
the ability to, have, other male friends and say, "Hey, let's go do whatever. Let's go for a walk. Let's go,
Yeah.
for what have you." And that's where I feel that women do it right. Their
Yeah.
communication, they do it right.
Yeah.
And again, to one of our original points, it's just sad that we men can't just say, let's just go talk. I mean, it could be just like you were saying earlier about driving the court. Let's go talk about, what's going on in the world of sports. Let's go, talk about, you know, lawn care maintenance stuff. I don't know,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
something. And I really wish that I I would someday take my own advice.
Yeah, but we have to get out of our own way, like you said. And it's that masculinity part that we think of is, will my friend think of me less of a man if I'm coming to him with, oh man, this day and my wife or my job is doing this. And, you know, we have to get over that. And we have to, and it's a hard thing that's going to take steps. And I know there's some men out there already that have that. They have someone. I had a good friend that used to be on my board, and the two of them, him and his buddy, I mean, they talked about everything and they did a lot of stuff together, and and all that. They supported each other. It was great. And I'm like you, I was jealous, not in an evil, nasty way, but it was something that I wish I had. And when I had my friend Aaron, you know, Aaron and I could do that. We, like I said, yeah, I used to laugh because I said, okay, I'm going to run in and I'm going to grab this and then I'm going to head out. And Aaron, we'll get into a short, what should have been a short conversation, and you're looking 3 hours later and we still talking. you know. But and when he passed, it took a lot out of me because it was like, really, I have never had a friend like that because my dad grew up, and I'm an army brat. So my dad was in the army and I grew up in as an army brat. And, we moved about every year and a half. So you didn't have a lot of time to build a long relationship, friendship with anybody because you were there for a year and a half and bam, you're out. So you have to start building a friendship with somebody else in another country, another state, whatever. But so I didn't even have stability like that until I was 14. And when he passed when I was 13. And I still didn't have male friends. And when I started playing in a band, I had male friends, but it still wasn't the type of friends that I could sit down and, talk to. They could come and talk to me. I didn't care about that, but I didn't go out and talk to them.
Why do you think that, Mike?
I don't know. I've always wondered about that. I think it's just finding someone that I really feel comfortable in telling what's going on. And I'm not going to tell anybody something that I don't think they're going to be able to provide a solution. So if I talk to you, I'm talking to you because I think you are a person that can provide a solution, and you might not even have to provide a solution, but at least give me good directions to go. And I don't know, I guess I have always been the one that people come to, not the one that I have somebody to go to. And I would love to find that person. Now this is really my wife. That's my very best friend. I sit down and I pretty much tell her everything. Almost, not everything, but almost. I'm
Well,
not stupid.
well, do you, not to play armchair psychiatrist, but one of the first things I was listening to you talk about is that you say that you really don't have a lot of close male friends. You didn't really hang out with a lot of the guys. Partially, as I'm listening to you, Mike, you were probably raised by your mom, right?
Right.
So you have I feel very similar because, after my parents divorced, I just hung out with my mom. My mom's the one who, at an early age, we would play catch together. She's the one who taught me how to tie a tie. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, again, not trying to play, psychiatrist. I think we have a breakthrough right there, Mike. Why you,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree because, my dad, like I said, he died when I was 13, but he was in the military and he was gone fighting wars majority of that my first 13 years of life. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. I spent way more than majority of the time with my mother, but I do have some very fond memories of my dad. But you're right. Most of my most of my education about relationships and grown-ups and so forth is done through my mom. I have uncles, but my uncles were not in the same state. My aunt that I was my second home because I spent every virtually every summer at her house in Houston. But she was my aunt. So I had my cousin who was Kenneth is what about 5 years, 4 or 5 years older than me. So we hung out, but at the same time, being that I was younger, sometimes when he was running with his friends, he'd be like, no, no, you can't come. No, this is not, you're not old enough yet. So I got pushed aside like a little brother. So most of my education and most of my hanging out, and even as an adult, now that we're playing, you know, a little psychology here, most of my friends have always been females.
I could see that.
Yeah. I've had more female friends than I've had male friends in by a long shot.
Well, probably because you could relate. Again, spending more quality time with your mom than hanging out with other men. So it's you're just been so acclimated to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, if you know, once I got into the band, yeah, I had friends in the band and, my years in college, I had more male friends than I had female friends. But I was still more comfortable around females than I were around males. And, even from the football field, same thing. I was still, when we played, that was great. But after that, I was gone. You were like, hey, we're going to go hang out. Yeah, yeah, I'll go right ahead.
So let's talk about your choice program, where you work with K through 12th grade kids.
Hmm.
What are some of the things um, that you inspire them or they inspire you on?
Ooh, well, they inspired me in ways that, you know, just the fact that I was able to help them and they would listen. I think it made it more like a big brother, but I could take them under my wings and they inspired me to branch out and do things. Those young men, they had very little fear. They had some, but they had very little fear. And they were like, they can go out and do things and try out new things. And they still had their dreams and their goals that they were working on and their admirations that they had. So I love doing that and talking with them. It was I was scared half to death to do it, but it was such a rewarding project and such a rewarding thing to do on a weekly basis and meeting with those guys. I loved it.
Tell us about it. What is the choice program?
Well, the choice program is really teaching young men about making the right choices, and the choices that they're making today are going to dictate how their life, turns out. So we would talk about everything from how you write a check, how you balance your checkbook, how you treat women, what women think when a man says, hey, let's go out. A woman's thought, just like my wife and I laughing about, we said, yeah, that Venus and Mars thing is real because because when a man is like, yeah, baby, let's go ahead and let's kick it a little bit and end up having sex. The woman idea of what that is totally different than from a man. Man is looking at her like, yeah, she's cool. I like hanging out with her, Um, yeah, we kick it every now and then. We have sex sometimes and blah, blah, blah. And she's looking at it like, oh, this is the man I'm going to marry. He loves me so much. We're in a relationship. And homeboy like, no, no,
No.
no, no, no. That's not what we're in. But, and tell them to how that really works. And, and have not just me tell them. We had other people to come into the meetings and to share their experience of the struggles they went through and the challenges they had going through life. So we've had even Mayor Hancock came in and spoke with the boys. We've had Nugget players, Bronco players, just men from the neighborhood to come in and talk about the challenges that they had, the choices that they had to make in order in some cases, the choices if they had gone a different route. So we've had people that have gone to jail and they, come in and share their story as to why they ended up, going to jail. And it's really to open up these young men's eyes to let them know that those choices, not studying or not doing your homework, not doing what you're supposed to do in any way, those things can affect you down the road. A lot of times we think, oh no, that's just it's no big deal. I can, no harm done. I don't do my math homework. No big deal. I don't need math. What am I going to use math for? I don't need algebra. I'll never use it again. Yes, you will. In some cases, because if nothing else, one thing I learned, and you probably learned the same thing with Connor, is when they're going to school, they come to you, say, hey, Dad, can you help me with my homework? You're like, look, son, no, I
No.
cannot. And, so it's I tell you, one of the stories that I love to tell is about the time that I went to the school and one of the counselors said, Mike, we got a lot of girls that are coming up pregnant. And I'm like, ooh. I said, well, if that's the case, then I know some of my boys are probably involved in that. And usually when I meet with them, they chatter just like, we say girls, and not to offend the women out there, but,
Right.
the boys can get in there and they run their mouth and they're partially paying attention to what you have to say. But I'm going to tell you, when I went in there and said, hey, okay, I know you guys are out there having sex, and I understand that that's one thing. And we talked about protection. But when I set them down and told them what was the real ramification of getting a girl pregnant, you could hear a pin drop in that room. And we're talking over 50 boys in that program at that time. And they got quiet. They were sitting on the end of their seats. They were like, what? To say what? And I'm saying, yeah, simple statement. A lot of them wanted to be professional athletes. And I said, do you realize that you get this girl pregnant, that whether you like her or not, you be with her for the rest of your life in some shape or form, and she's going to be in your pocket for the next 18 to 24 years. And trust me, every time you get paid or get a raise, she gets one too. And they were like, excuse me. And, so it was like really breaking it down to them that what life is all about. And a lot of these boys had no fathers in the home. Some of them were being raised by their grandparents. But a lot of them had, I think I can really count on one hand how many had fathers in their lives. And for them to see men come in and talk to them about life and responsibilities and their actions is going to play a part in their life was huge. And it's nice. I still get, like this particular group, one kid, I still get emails and Facebook from, and I haven't talked. I mean, he was in the program back in, over 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I still see him on Facebook and we talk on Facebook, and I see him doing things. He moved out to California and was getting into dancing and so forth. And so he was even on Ellen, and he emailed me, let me know he was going to be on Ellen, and it's great. And I've run into some of the boys. Even one of them I ran into before I left Denver, and he introduced me to his pregnant girlfriend. And I said, that's fine. I said, so what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to do what you told me. I'm manning up. I'm going to be a part of my child's life. And whether I marry her or not, but I'm going to be in my child's life. And I'm like, okay, good. I'd rather you had waited, but I'm glad you are at least going to be a part of that child's life no matter what.
Well, looking back at this, Mike, what a major impact you're making on young men, going back, as you were saying, probably 10 years ago. And that it's just, I look at the, co-parenting aspect, that a child needs both parents,
Yeah,
regardless of divorce. Child needs both parents.
absolutely.
But at the same time, we need, the dads to be taking their responsibility and
Mm-hmm.
not just shrugging it off. And I'll be honest. This is not a black issue. This is not a white issue. It's a man issue.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Because I'm telling you, it wasn't all black males or all Spanish males in that room. There were some white boys in that room as well, and they didn't have a father in their life. So it is a national problem. It's not
Yes.
it doesn't matter what race you are. It is a problem. And we have men from all races, Spanish, black, white, Oriental, you can go on and on and on, that have walked away from their families. And sadly enough, and this is one thing that I stressed on the women, a lot of times or sometimes it's because the woman has made it so difficult for the man to be a part of that child's life. And you hear so many women say, well, I can raise a child on my own. Yes, you can. But is that in the best interest of that child? No. I don't care how you slice it, because you said it earlier. A child needs both parents. They don't have to be together. You don't even have to like each other. But a child needs both parents, and they need you to get along. As long as you're in their sight, they want to see you get along.
Oh my
And
gosh. I got to stop you there, because you bring up such a great point. Because recently, Connor was doing his senior high school pictures downtown Denver,
mhm,
and I met up with him and his mom, and it was one of those moments, one of these great moments where, as he was getting his pictures taken, his mom and I stood back, and we're just having conversations, and we have
mhm,
not done that. And I can tell you, Mike, in ever, we
mhm,
we've never had those kinds of moments where we were engaged. We were, having, just standing there talking. And you are so right. You don't have to like each other, but it is. I feel like I need to take your message now, Mike, and run it up, Pikes Peak, and say, again, you don't have to like each other, but when you are in the presence of your kids, pretend you like each other.
yeah.
Or you don't have to pretend. Just find some commonality. Find something for two of you just to talk about. Talk about your kids.
Mhm.
And oh my gosh, that's words of wisdom right there, Mike.
Yeah, well, thank you. I truly believe that, and I've been through, like you, I've been through a nasty divorce, and like I said, if I could have hung her, I would have. If I would not be here today if I had did what my heart wanted me to do. I still be in prison. So it, but at the same time, I knew that for my daughter's sake, I kept her as my focus. And it was for my daughter that I, interacted with her mom. And even when Veronica and I got married, we were married and my daughter was getting ready to have our grandson. We had the baby shower at our place and her mother was invited. And so, and we had a great time. They came over, they helped decorate. My Veronica was such a great host, and but we acted like we had some, we were grown-ups. We act like we had some sense.
Yeah.
And I know what my deep feeling is about her, but that's beside the point. I'm old enough to know that I don't need to act a fool to she knows how I feel about her. I don't even have to guess that. She knows. And I know. So, but that's not going to do my daughter any good. So we're trying to have a baby shower for my daughter. This is about her, not about you and I or what we've gone through or how we really feel about each other. No, you put that aside. We're grown-ups. We got the big panties on and the big drawers on. Let's take care of the kid and keep the kid as the focus. And she wasn't no kid. She was, a grown woman, but it's still, I don't care how old kids get. Even, and I'm sure Connor would say the same. He still would love, even though he loves Ann, and I know he does, he would still love to see his mom and dad back together again.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go to prison.
I know the feeling well. But so, and I say that because even though, they have accepted and love who you have chose now in your life, but they still deep down inside will want to see their parents together. But they want to see you get along because they love you both. And they shouldn't have to choose and decide who they love more. They should be able to love you both the same and know that you two can get along, when the time comes and when it need be. It's not like you have to hang out, but you should be able to get along and have a great time and think about, kind of, because you're going to have those moments, the graduations and the the grandkids come, and you two are both want to be in the same room when the grandbaby comes. Hey, you can't go at each other's throat.
No.
I know you want to, but but we got, you have to let those other feelings go. You have to put them away, because really, if you're sitting there still harping on the anger that you have, that's really bringing you down.
Exactly.
She's gone on with her life. She's doing what she wants to do. You're still holding on to that anger. No, let that stuff go. Let it go and enjoy your life. Enjoy it. Don't let somebody else bring you down. Don't let anybody hold you down. And that anger is doing just that. So let it go.
I agree. Please don't break out in the song of whatever that stupid movie is. Please, I'm begging. Mike, this has been awesome. Before I get to your last question, how can the listeners find you on the world of the media of social?
Well, you can find me, The Father Show with Mike Thompson has a Facebook page. You can find The Father Show with Mike Thompson YouTube page. And we are, I have my Mike Thompson LinkedIn page. You can reach me anytime on the emails. You can just email thefathershow@gmail.com. If you need help or you're looking for some resources, or you need to talk and just see if you can bounce an idea, give me a call. You can reach me at 720-280-4793. And you can give me a call. If I don't answer, just leave a message and I will get back with you. But and then the Father Show with Mike Thompson podcast is on the YouTube channel, is on Twitter, is on, and I'm working on it. They're on Spotify and Apple and some of the other platforms. So just stay tuned, and you connect with us and link with us and subscribe on the YouTube page or the Facebook page. You'll learn when we branch out to other media outlets.
Cool. So last question, Mike. What has changed for you the past 12 months?
COVID-19.
True.
It's been such a change. But for me, it's really, I restarted the Father Show once I, settled down in New Orleans. Now we started at I think March of this year. And so really my last year has been preparing to launch the Father Show with Mike Thompson and to get the podcast out there. And my goal is really just to help as many men and women as I possibly can. I want them to all have better lives and enjoy their lives. And it really is what I live for. I love helping, people have the best life that they can possibly have.
Well, Mike, I am so grateful for our friendship. I am so grateful that you've allowed me to use your airwaves, and now finally I can get you to use the airwaves on this podcast. So I am so thankful for knowing you and knowing how much of a big heart you have just serving others.
Yeah, what I tell you, Tommy, it's been a blessing, and I really enjoy getting to know you and having you as a friend. And I'm going to tell you, right here on the air, anytime you need to talk to me, call me.
I will take you up on that because I wrote down your phone number, so now I have it.
Yep. Well,
I already had it.
What you talking about? But and like I said, the next time I get out that way, we got to have dinner.
I know you like wine. I like wine.
Yeah.
So definitely, I am looking forward to spending quality time with you, Mike.
Absolutely. And if you ever make it down this way, down the south, please let me know.
I was just going to say, Anne wants to make a trip to New Orleans. We will be looking you up.
Absolutely. If I hear otherwise, I'm going to be highly ticked off. And you got this on recording.
I don't want you. I don't want to be on your bad side, Mike.
Nah, it's not as bad as it used to be. Oh.